Welcome in, everyone. It's Catfish on Ice, episode 170. We're already a month into 2023, fellas. How's that possible? And I think Kyle Perkins said we have stranger danger going on in here. Who is this stranger that's in the room right now? I think his first name starts with an R. I think his name's Rich.
Where am I?
Is it Rich? Did you mean
I lost my glasses.
Rich, did this person named Rich, did you mean to enter the stream tonight? Are you lost, sir?
It feels like I am a little bit lost, actually. But
we missed you, man.
So glad to be back with you guys. So glad. Awesome.
We have the crew back. We have the full crew back. It's all three of us. It's Chad Minton, Rich Howe, Kyle Perkins. We're at the All-Star break, the 2023 NHL All-Star break. It's February 1st, 2023. We do have some NHL games going on tonight. But for the most part, we're at the break. The Preds have been off for a little bit. They're getting a very nice little break here, which if you ask Rich this, because Rich knows very well, is never a good thing when the Preds get a long break.
It's not going to be good for them.
Yeah, they don't play again for another 6 days. February 7th is when the Predators come back. They take on the Vegas Golden Knights. But be that as it may, this is the NHL All-Star Edition episode of Catfish and Ice 2023. I think we did the same thing last year in 2022, Rich. So we'll have to go back and listen to that.
We did, I believe. I'm pretty sure we did.
So we're back. I mean, the years just fly by. I guess that's how it works.
No, it's insane.
Let's tell you what we're getting into real quick. In this All-Star break edition of Catfish on Ice, we are going to, first of all, look at some historical comparisons of this Predators team, look at some of the past All-Stars that have played for this Predators franchise. So many great players that have played for this franchise and represented the All-Star uniform, including a couple coaches where there's only been three. You can do the math on which one has not been an All-Star coach.
I think it's probably pretty easy to figure that out.
Was that rude of me to say that? I'm sorry.
No.
How rude.
It was a little rude. We're going to go into the top storylines surrounding the Nashville Predators as we are at the break. So what are some of the biggest stories that we're thinking about right now? The things that are really on our minds at the break. If you're a Predators fan, if you're covering the team, whatever it is, what is surrounding this franchise right now? We're going to dive into it. I've got 5 that I wrote about on predlines.com, but there's plenty. Awesome. There's way more than 5. There's plenty out there. And we are going to also, so guys, RIP to the former Catfish on Ice segment called Battle for the Central.
Yeah.
Everyone bow your heads. Everyone bow your heads for a second.
It had a good run.
It had a good run. It lasted like 2 seasons, I think. We haven't done it in a while, but Battle for the Central has been put to rest. It was great. We used to rank the power rankings weekly of the Central Division. We have not done it in a while, so we're putting it to rest. But we are going to give it a little bit of respect tonight and discuss amongst the three of us, how will the Central Division end up at the All-Star break?
I don't know. It's pretty ugly.
Yeah.
It's pretty ugly right now, actually.
It usually is. We'll look at the other 3 divisions as well and lightly touch on that. Alex Carrier, he's got the 4 to 6 week injury designation. An injury is never a good time to happen, no matter when it happens. But to happen before the All-Star break, at least he's getting some extra time to nurse that injury, and we'll have to wait and see how long the Predators might be without him. I think it's arguably more significant than losing Ryan McDonough, because if he does lose more time, that 4 to 6 week window scares me always, because you just never know how long it's going to be. He's a very underrated and important player to this team. So we're going to touch on that. NHL quick hitters. We got to touch on the Bo Horvat trade, the first big trade, the first domino, if you will, to really fall as we're a month away from the trade deadline. The Canucks trade him away to the Islanders. We're going to talk about who won that trade. We're going to tie the Predators into this, because I will tell you guys right now, before we went on live, I told you guys I was worried that the Predators would be the Islanders in overreach for a goal scorer and give away young talent.
Yeah. That's always possible. You just never know, right?
Yep. And we have to touch on some NHL ratings news. It's not good if you're the powers that be that run the NHL. Most importantly, Gary Bettman, the commissioner, who is celebrating his 30th anniversary.
And
that's commish.
Yeah. And to horrible ratings numbers.
Yeah. Not good. And we will touch on that. And then to round out this episode, it's not going to be on the live version, but to round out this episode, Kyle Pereira, who covers the Tampa Bay Lightning, one of Rich's favorite teams, but he covers the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's also a scout for Last Word on Hockey. He's going to round out this episode. You got to download the podcast the next day. If you're watching live right now on YouTube, it's also on our YouTube channel right now. So after you get done watching this live portion, circle back, hit subscribe, and then also watch that interview with Kyle. We have a lot of Kyles floating around here lately.
There's a bunch of Kyles.
Kyle's a good name, though. Kyle's a good name.
Here's Lindsay. Hello, Lindsay.
What's up, Lindsay? We love you. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into it. We are presented by DraftKings and Raycon. Raycon wireless earbuds. We're going to tell you about both of our sponsors later in this episode. You can get exclusive offers on both of them by using the same promo code, THPN. Very easy.
Pretty easy.
We'll tell you more about that. First of all, Rich, we miss you, man. How have you been?
Working like a mad person.
Yeah,
unfortunately, but hopefully it'll come to an end soon.
You get to hop on a podcast and talk about hockey.
I do,
tonight,
so that's
I think
awesome.
You're in your happy place, right?
I am.
Would you call this your happy place?
I would. Yep.
All right.
Every week.
Kyle, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Trying not to get iced over up here in the Bluegrass State. I'm sure Rich can talk to that too up his way.
There is some ice going on up there. I didn't hear about that.
School was out yesterday.
Yes.
So.
Fellas, if you want to hear about my current weather conditions right now.
I heard you were
it's
talking.
In the 80s. It's actually too hot. It's actually too hot.
You were wrestling with whether or not you should turn your air conditioner on.
Yeah, I was. And like it's actually unseasonable. You're gonna laugh at this, but it's unseasonably warm even for here. Like people are walking around. Like native Floridians are saying, what happened to my quote unquote winter, which a Florida winter this far down into Florida is mid 60s, lows of like high 50s. That's a Florida winter. Yeah. Well, right now, like it feels like summer here. Like it's like in the low 80s. So weather is going to be weather, I guess. I don't know.
Kyle, do you hold off on turning on your air conditioner when it gets hot, or do you just like?
No, if it's hot, I'm turning it on.
Yes, sir.
I turned it on. I turned my AC on today. I gave in. I couldn't help it.
I feel one little hint of I'm hot. Yeah, that sucker goes on. I don't care if it's February. If it gets hot outside, turn that air on.
I'd rather it be cold in my house than hot.
Absolutely, me too.
Yeah,
because I can't sleep. I can't sleep when it's too hot.
Me either.
I'll hold off turning my
the
heat on as long as possible.
Yeah.
Lindsay says it's cold again up here in Calgary. Well, I mean, is it? I would think it's probably always cold there.
A lot of the time, it looks like it's
they have a different kind of cold. Their cold disrespects our cold.
Oh,
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
It's like your cold is weak. Get that weak cold out of here.
They laugh at us Southerners who say it's cold. They laugh at us. They're like, you don't even know.
They're like, it's balmy -10.
Cat Williams did a comedy special years ago when he was talking about going to Chicago. He said, you have to buy your coat for Chicago in Chicago because you buy it anywhere else, it's just going to disrespect it.
Absolutely.
So that's that kind of Calgary cold.
Absolutely.
Yep, for sure. All right. Let's get into it. Episode 170 of Catfish on Ice. Here we go. First and foremost, let's get into this all-star edition of Catfish on Ice. And guys, the Predators have had 12 different players to be selected as all-stars in their history. Kind of an interesting little nugget there for people who maybe didn't know exactly how many players they have had. They've had multiple selections for many of their players in their history. But I'm going to throw you guys a little curveball here, and whoever gets the answer to this right, whoever correctly answers this, I will have to walk from St. Petersburg, Florida, to wherever you live in Kentucky. I'll hitchhike. I'll hitchhike up there if you get this question right. And you can't cheat. You can't cheat. I'm watching both of you. Who was the first ever selected all-star by the Predators franchise?
Wow.
I will walk. I will literally at the end of this podcast, I will leave my apartment. I'll get my back. Just give me like an hour to get my affairs in order, like to get a backpack and a knapsack and some water. But I will hitchhike up to Kentucky. It might take me a few days.
So that tells me it's probably nobody that I know.
It might be.
I don't know.
Was it Vokoun?
Ooh, that's a really good guess, Kyle. But no, I'm not walking to Kentucky over that answer.
Gosh, I don't even know.
I wouldn't have gotten this either. So, I mean,
really?
If that makes you guys feel any better. Our buddy Johnny, is he watching tonight? Is Johnny watching? Johnny would get this. Johnny would definitely get this. Johnny's not watching right now. If Johnny if Johnny Predemption is what he logs in as, if he was watching, he would get this.
Oh, I bet he probably does.
It's that type of knowledge. Okay, I'm just going to tell you guys. Sergei Krivokrazov.
Okay, yeah.
In 1999.
Oh, yeah, Sergei. Oh, yeah, I remember Sergei.
One of the many thousands of Sergeis that have ever played NHL hockey. So I'm not walking to Kentucky, so that's good. That makes me feel good.
Krimakornov?
That'd be a great nickname. Let's look at some of the former Preds All-Stars here. 12 different players. Shea Weber leads the All-Star selections. Yeah.
Heard him.
5-time selection for Shea Weber as a Predator. Pecorine got selected 4 times. Roman Josi 3 times. Kimmo Timonen, the first captain.
That's a good one.
Original captain, not the first captain, I guess, but he eventually became captain. He got three All-Star selections. UC Saros just got his second All-Star selection. PK Subban got 2 picks.
Wow.
As a Predator. Philip Forsberg, surprisingly, only has 1 All-Star selection, and it was his rookie season.
Oh, wow.
Mind you. James Neal was an All-Star temporarily for the Predators. Ryan Suter, boo, 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 you suck. Ryan Suter got a All-Star selection. Jason Arnott. And then the very, very famed player that Rich and Kyle knew so much about, Sergei Krivokrazov.
That sounds dirty. I don't know.
The only reason I asked that question, the only reason I made the stakes so high on that question is because I knew you guys would not get it unless you cheated.
No.
And I know you guys aren't cheaters. Like, there's respect.
I wish I would have known. That would have been great. But
I'd be walking to Kentucky right now. So
yeah.
There's also 2 coaches that have been Preds All-Stars.
I can answer this question.
I can promise you I'm not walking to Kentucky if you get this one right. But it's Barry Trotz in 2007. And then Peter Laviolette got 2 picks as coach in 2015 and 2018. And guess what? A year and a half later, he got fired. Yeah. He was an all-star coach and then got fired a year and a half later. But yeah.
The all-star selection doesn't mean a thing.
Good stuff. So yeah. First of all, I want to ask you guys this.
Okay.
Because I am kind of like, I don't like the way the all-star teams are picked these days.
I don't
With
know.
this whole central division and like each team gets a player. Let's make everybody happy.
It's like a participation award.
Yeah, well, it just makes it really hard for some of the really good players to actually get an all-star selection.
Yeah.
You look at a team like the Predators. Philip Forsberg is never going to get an all-star selection under this format. There's really only 2 players on the Predators right now who can even dream of getting an all-star selection right now. And it's Roman Josi and Pekka Rinne.
No.
Under this format. They need to go back to the World versus the North American All-Stars.
Yep.
Do you guys agree with me, Kyle?
Except for the Pekka Rinne part.
I don't see how Pekka's going to get an all-star vote.
You said Pekka Rinne and Roman Josi.
But he was the only one that got all-star picks. I meant to say UC Saros.
Sorry about it. We're just joshing you.
Joshing.
Yeah, it's messed up. I don't
I
like
get UC Saros and Pekka Rinne mixed up all the time because it's mentor-student. And
that's true.
You know what?
And we miss Pekka so much. I don't know. Like, on one hand, it does kind of suck because some of better players do get left out. But on the other hand, some rebuilding teams like Arizona, you'd never see any of their players ever. And I know they're horrible and whatever, but there might be somebody who wants to see one of them. I don't know. Who knows? But
I mean, I think it's good to grow to maybe like get all the fans of all teams like maybe interested. Like maybe there's that Coyotes fan out there who's like, oh, I'm going to watch the All-Star game now because Clayton Keller made it. Like maybe, but
maybe. Yeah.
I want to go back to the North American All-Stars versus the World All-Stars. That gives you that Olympic feel. That gives you that, you know what that's just kind of how I feel about it. Like, because you used to build some really good teams and it actually meant something to the players because you're playing for something when it's world versus North America. It's not country versus country necessarily, but you're still getting that Olympic feel to it. And that used to be some really, that was like kind of when I first started watching hockey. I remember the All-Star games used to be world versus North America. Why can't we go back to that? Why can't we just pick the best? Let's pick the best. Let's not worry about how many players on each team gets in. The best of the best make it. Let's make it North America versus world. Pick your players.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that would raise so much intrigue outside of just diehard hockey fans. I think casual fans would get more interested. I think that even fans who maybe are thinking about becoming hockey fans might be interested because you'll get that Olympic feel to it.
Yeah, and if you watched it last year, that probably turned a lot of viewers off because it wasn't very good. I don't know. It just didn't feel great to me. But I don't even remember. Did you guys watch it last year? I don't remember.
I watched it, but it wasn't the level of interest was very low.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I watched it because Saros was in there. I wanted to see if Saros did well. I was more interested in the skills challenge more than anything.
Yeah.
Except for that one in the water.
More so than the actual game. I was more interested in the skills competition than I was the actual game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Just not very interesting. Hopefully this year will be better.
We do have.
Hope so.
When you're talking about the All-Star skills competition, there are some good ones out there. Some of the ones you're used to is accuracy shooting, breakaway challenge, fastest shot, hardest shot, fastest skater. We're all used to that. I guess they're giving us some new ones. There's one called the splash shot. So this is going to be in South Florida. This is it's Sunrise, Florida is where the All-Star Game's at this year. This unique event is set to take place on the beach in Fort Lauderdale because nothing says hockey like the beach.
Palm trees on the logo.
Yeah.
So.
4 teams of 2 players will be required to hit targets in an attempt to dunk their opponent in a water tank. Is this like Nickelodeon style stuff here?
They're going to start sliming each other. Yeah.
Maybe. The team to dunk their opponents first wins in this single elimination tournament.
Okay. That's kind of like the thing they did. Well, no, it's not. They did the thing last year in the water where they had to shoot the pucks. It was kind of weird.
Oh, you mean the thing where Yossi's puck didn't work?
Scored. They had to. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you had to tap it to activate it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
There was water.
So. We'll see how that goes. All right. Here's another one. Pitch and puck. The only sport NHL players may love more than hockey is golf, and Florida is the perfect setting. 6 players will face off on a par 4 hole with an island green, using both pucks and balls to achieve the lowest score and be declared winners of this brand new competition. So basically, golf and hockey meet together.
Okay.
So basically, this is a one for the Maple Leaves.
For sure.
This one,
they get I see what you're doing there. They get in some extra rounds during the playoffs.
We'll see how this one goes. All right. How about this one? Tendy Tandem. I do like the name of it. The names of them, Tendy Tandem. The goalies will be getting more love. This is all from Yahoo, by the way. I'm reading this from Yahoo Sports. Got to give them credit. The goalies will be getting more love in this year's All-Star competition with the introduction of the Tendy Tandem. Rich is on board already. He heard about goalies here. All 8 All-Star goalies, so UC Saros will be involved, I'm assuming. All 8 All-Star goalies will compete in teams of 2, with one taking part in the shooting facet and the other tending the goal. So I think Saros needs to be the shooter. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. Are they going to do divisions here? I'm assuming they'll put Saros with Hellebuck.
Yeah, if they do,
Let's keep the 2 goalies together in each division.
So if you're the the Atlantic division, you will probably want Vasilevsky in goal because he's so big.
Yeah, he just takes up so much space.
Yeah, and let Linus Ullmark shoot if that's how it's going to go.
I mean, I would think that's how they do it.
Ullmark's been better than Vasi this year, though.
Yeah, but Vasilevsky's so huge.
Like he doesn't have to move.
Marshmallow Man.
And
Vass basically just doesn't have to move. Just stand there.
He's the Walrus commercial.
Look at me. Yeah.
The shooter will take a shot from a designated spot on the ice and will accumulate points based on where he places the puck in the net. Based on how well the shooting goalie does, his counterpart net will face a number of skaters in a shootout. So if the shooter sucks, you screw over your teammate.
Wow.
This might actually be kind of good. I might actually have to watch.
So do they have to shoot with their pads on?
I don't know, man. This has potential, guys. This
might be good.
Potential. If the goalie in net makes a save, his team earns full points for that round. The game continues until every puck is shot and the tandem with the most point wins. This sounds more confusing. Like I've got to do homework to figure out how this scoring system works.
I don't get it. If I was a goaltender, I wouldn't want to go to the All-Star game because all it is you getting scored on.
Yeah.
It's like not any fun at all.
Well,
because there's no defense allowed.
No defense allowed.
They say, don't worry, we're just as confused as you are about this event, so we'll just have to wait.
That's
all
good.
Right. But I'm going to watch it at least. Of course, we got fastest skater. We've got hardest shot. Like, we know all about those. Breakaway challenge, accuracy shooting. I've always loved the hardest shot just because.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's the best event there is.
We all know about the GOAT, Shea Weber, who for the longest time had one of the fastest shots, hardest shots. Yeah. We know that Roman Yossi's a fast skater, but we'll have to see. Connor McDavid will be in there. Jordan Kyrou
ran away with it for the last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, forever. Jordan Kyrou won last year's event in 13.55 seconds. So the skills competition is always fun. If you're just hanging out and need something to watch. I'm more interested in that than the actual game itself, honestly. If they made it World versus North America, I would be all about the game. I'd be all about the game. I'd go out and buy a North America jersey for crying out loud just to represent. Like it makes it more important. It makes it more interesting. I think the players would have more to play for. Hopefully the NHL eventually goes back.
You definitely don't want to buy one of the jerseys this year. Those things are ugly. Oh my gosh, they're so horrible.
They're not great.
Oh my gosh, they're usually not great. But the last time Roman Yossi went, those look pretty cool. They were like gray,
the gray with the stripes and stuff.
Yeah, those were good. But the ones
hopefully Nashville doesn't screw up the ones next year.
Oh, it's going to
probably be a cowboy hat on it or something stupid.
Hey, let's go and call it like it is. Nashville knows how to handle the All-Star game. It is going to blow anything out of the water we've ever seen.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I'm just saying they make some hot garbage jerseys sometimes.
They do. But I can promise you that the powers that be in Nashville that are planning for this whole All-Star thing they're already planning it right now. Like they're already working on it, and it's going to be great. All right. So let's get into our opening face-off here of Catfish and Ice episode 170 with our top storylines going into the break surrounding the Nashville Predators, who are at 54 points in the standings, 24, 18, and 6. They are 4 points out of third place, and they are 3 points out of a playoff spot. But if you talk to fans around here, you would never know that. You would think that they were down there with Chicago and Arizona, the way fans talk about the Predators these days. And I'm not giving them crap about it. I understand. There's
a lot of bad feelings right now.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So let's talk about some of the biggest storylines surrounding the Predators right now. Let me start with my first one, guys. Are the Nashville Predators starting to finally click offensively? The only direction you can go is up. Like, they can't get any worse, really. But I do think they're starting to show some modest signs of improvement on this end. And that is one of the major keys to whether this team's actually going to not only make the playoffs, but who knows, maybe even get past the first round. Kyle, what do you think? And then we'll go to Rich. Do you think this team is starting to find something offensively? That's one of my storylines.
Well, you asked me this last week, and I'm going to give you the same answer I gave you last week. It depends on what team shows up that day, is what my opinion is.
Truth.
Because they are the most inconsistent team believe I've ever watched. So whenever they can do it for 10 games in a row, I'll believe it.
There you go.
I mean, they put up a 6-4 win over the Devils to go into the break. It was another really exciting win. The offense was clicking in that one game, but just because it's one game doesn't mean they fixed all their problems. 5 of those goals came on regular scoring. Then they added an empty netter. Here's my big key point in all of this, and then I'm going to get Rich's thoughts on this. Everyone says everyone says Philip Forsberg is the big key in all this. Philip Forsberg's putting up goals. He's not on the same pace, but he's scoring goals. Here's where I think about this storyline here. Matt Duchene is starting to find his groove. His skating has been mesmerizing lately. You watch this dude play. He's not always finishing. We need him to finish. I get that. But this dude is skating circles around people.
He is. I agree.
Can he turn that into more goals? Can he turn it up a notch, start finishing? I'm not saying he's going to reach anywhere close to his pace of last year when he became the single-season Preds record holder in goals. But can he come close to it? Can he start ramping up the pace, start finishing, start scoring some goals? You're thinking about the line combination of Forsberg and Duchene on a wing with hopefully Juuso Parssinen, I would hope, or Cody Glass. Either one, interchange them. I would rather Parssinen be centering them personally. But either way, put one of those centering those two wingers and let those two wingers go to work.
Yeah, for sure.
Pittsburgh still hasn't scored a goal since being on the line with Parsonen. So,
Well, Rich, what are you thinking, man? Do you think that it's just this team is who they are? They're not going to be a high-scoring team.
I want to say with everything in me that they are turning things around, but like Kyle said, you just don't know. You just don't know what you're going to get. Like they played a really good game against New Jersey. That was a great game. They've won, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their last 6, which is good, but like just still some bad lapses here and there. But I think after they had their little team meeting, things looked a little better, but you just don't know. You just don't know what's going to show up every night. So,
yeah, that is very true. You're echoing.
It's not me.
You were saying so many good things that you echoed off my phone. I'm so sorry, Rich.
That's all good.
It's such a good point. I agree with that. The thing I will say about the Predators is that if you look at expected goals for, they're one of the most unlucky teams in the league, especially at 5-on-5. So expected goals for the Preds are. This was going into the break for the Predators here. The Predators were second in the NHL, according to Money Puck, and expected goals for at 5-on-5 even strength hockey. Second in the league, but they're 26th in goals per game. That was a couple days ago going into the break, but that is a massive discrepancy here. Now, I'm not making excuses for them. You got to finish. That's not the end-all, be-all. Expected goals for isn't the end-all, be-all. Not making excuses for them. But there's got to be something that you can zero in on in terms of scheming, in terms of plays, line combinations, whatever you want to have it when it comes to the coaches. To figure out why are we not finishing? Why are we getting all these scoring chances? And yet we don't have the goals to show for it on the scoreboard. That's frustrating when you see something like that.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the Preds commit a lot of penalties. They're top 10 in penalties again this year. So that's 5-on-5. So I think your formula based on that is let's be more disciplined the best we can. And at 5-on-5, we're actually not a bad hockey team when it comes to creating scoring chances.
Yeah. I mean, when they have everything clicking, they play really well. Like they did the past couple games, but it goes south really quick, or it can go south really quick. Unfortunately,
a lot of their wins recently have come in low scoring fashion. They've gotten a lot of 2-1 wins lately. They're having to do their normal winning formula. So probably the win over the Devils to go into the break is probably an outlier, unfortunately. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. But that is definitely one of my top storylines.
That's a good
going
one.
into the break. Here's my next one. And this one, this one we can easily talk about. Can Glass and Parsonen keep rising to more important roles? That's got to be something on the top of everyone's mind right now. Will the ascension of Cody Glass and Juuso Parsonen continue in the post-break part of the season? Kyle, what are you thinking, man?
Yes.
Yes.
I think
the most basic response. Yes.
Yes. Next.
Those two guys are absolutely they're ready and they're proving they're ready. I don't see anything but good things for both of them.
Yeah.
They're both of them in the last couple of months have been punching well above their weight.
Mm-hmm.
So
the only thing that worries me is John Hines putting them on lines that they can't be their best versions of themselves.
Yes.
That's the only thing that worries me. I think if you put them at center roles in the top 6, I know Parsonen's been moved into the bottom 6 a couple times, but they seem to be all on board with Cody Glass. Like Cody Glass is someone they're not messing with right now. Like they're keeping him up there in that elevated role. So we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out. But there is no reason if you're John Hines, to tinker with that right now because these guys have stepped up to the plate and they've delivered.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I obviously want to see them both succeed, but I'm really glad to see Cody Glass succeeding because it feels like he's gotten a little bit of the runaround since he's been in the NHL. Just things haven't panned out for him, and just watching him play well and finally, living up to whatever expectations people put on him or whatever. It's just a good thing to see.
And as we know, Juuso Parssinen came into really rare territory among franchise rookies in Predators history. 21 points in his first 34 games. Among the Predators to debut, only 3 rookies have ever recorded their first 20 NHL points in fewer games. Craig Smith, Alexander Radulov, and Philip Forsberg. So Parssinen is in some pretty good company there. So that's something that's obviously a storyline for a lot of Predators fans is, can these 2 guys in particular continue to earn their roles and play critical parts into this team? Because I can promise you right now, if these 2 guys weren't living up to the occasion right now, then you think the Predators are bad now. Oh, they wouldn't even be wouldn't even be where they're at. So these 2 guys are very integral into why the Predators are even in this spot to battle for a playoff spot again. So can they keep it up? Can they avoid a sophomore slump? Can they avoid dipping back? We'll have to watch that. All right, here's my next storyline, guys. Can the Predators survive a bad stretch of hockey from Juice?
Ooh.
And when I say bad stretch, I don't mean like 1 or 2 games. When I say bad stretch, I mean like 5 or 6 games where Saros is human. Maybe he's human. Maybe he's not elite like we know he is. Maybe he does give up some soft goals here and there each game. And you have to give him goal support to actually win. Can the Predators actually survive that?
I'm going to go with no.
And that ties into the first storyline.
I don't think so.
Support. That ties into the offense changing. These are kind of tying together a little bit here. But
this team let him was shot on 65 times. So there you go. Well, that's the answer. I mean, like I think if he's having a bad night, no matter what they do, it's not going to be pretty because he has bailed them out so many times. So, and I don't think I don't know how many times they've actually bailed him out. So,
few to none.
Few to none for sure.
That game against the Devils, you actually saw a Predators team that was very aggressive offensively, very aggressive on the puck, very, pushing the puck down the ice, creating scoring chances, very, very, very busy in transition, and they ended up winning that game, But that's probably an outlier. Like, do we really think this team is going to shift over? Because tying back to the first storyline is the offense turning around. It ties into this storyline regarding Saros. If the Predators do turn the page offensively and they do actually start becoming a team that can give you 3, 4, 5 goals in a game, then perhaps they can sustain a 5-game stretch. Because I'm thinking post-break, the Predators can't afford a 5, 6, 7-game losing streak. That will be the end of it. That will be the end of this whole stretch.
That'll be the nail in the proverbial coffin.
And I'm telling you right now, it's very possible that as great as Saros is, he might have a bad stretch.
Yeah, I mean, it's always possible.
Can this team overcome that? Can this team overcome that?
I just think the way things have gone this season, that if he does have a bad stretch, like you said, I think they'd be done. Unfortunately, there's just nothing has gone right with this whole season. So it's been ugly, very ugly at times.
Yep.
All right, here's my next one. How will the Predators approach the trade deadline, guys? I mean, we're a month away, guys. We're a month away. And the Predators are in familiar territory. What do? They're not firmly on one end of the spectrum or the other. They're very much like, what do you do here? There's plenty of fans out there who are so against buying and they just want this team to be ripped apart. I get it. But what do they do here? That's obviously a very big storyline for this team. I got to mention what Frank Saravelli said recently regarding the Predators. He said, quote, with each passing game, the decision gets a little bit tougher for Preds GM David Poile. His team is hanging tough in the playoff race, and whenever they seem to be left for dead in the standings, they bounce back. That's what Frank Saravelli of Daily Faceoff said about the Preds and Poile on the deadline strategy.
And he
what do you guys think about that?
He probably copy and pasted that from the past 2 or 3 years because that is exactly
most likely
the same boat we have been in this whole time. I mean,
so Bo Horvat, who we're going to talk about in our quick hitter segment later in this episode, Bo Horvat was at the top of his trade board when he wrote that article, and now Bo Horvat is going to the Islanders. But next up on his board is Timo Meier. Then you got Jacob Chikrin. You got Patrick Kane. You got Jonathan Toews. You got a lot of other guys. It's not a very big starstruck trade deadline board once you get past some of those guys. The only way I can see the Predators going heavy in the paint and buying anybody is if it's a pure low-end depth move, not high risk, maybe a guy who can boost your prospect pool a little bit, maybe someone you can plug into the fourth line to maybe shift out Cole Smith. Other than that, I don't know how the Predators do anything at the trade deadline.
You mean like that year they got Corbini and Holzer?
No.
I was about to say, who's the tallest?
They went and got Lucas Spiza too one year, Rich.
They did.
Who's the tallest third and a half pair defenseman in the
They're
league?
not going to do that. They're very, very pleased with Jeremy Lauzon. They're very pleased with Roland McKeown. They're fine. They don't have to go in and get any big body defenseman. I think McEwen's been fine. Roland McEwen's been fine.
Who's the other one?
I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm just saying, have you seen David Poile at the trade deadline before?
He loves himself a big old body defenseman.
He
big old bulky.
Like
Who's he going to give up to get one of those guys? You think he's going to ship off a Kiefer Sherwood or who else can we think
Sherwood is lit it up in Milwaukee.
Exactly. But that's my point, though. Like, if he's going to go do something like that, what's he going to do? Ship off a 4th or 5th round draft pick and get some big bodied oaf that can just take up space at the blue line?
Yes.
Yes, he probably will. We'll see.
Let's add somebody who's going to get us more penalty minutes, because that's what we don't have enough of is more penalty minutes.
Yeah. And they're stupid penalty minutes, but
I would send Dante Fabro.
All I hope for is, if anything, that the Predators don't do anything. Just sit this one out. Sit it out. Watch it. First of all, there's tons of cap restraints this year. This is going to be a pretty boring trade deadline.
Yeah.
From what I'm understanding. Like, there's a lot of cap restraints. Most teams can't do anything, even if they want to right now, which is going to tie into another NHL quick hitter when it comes to the ratings that are tanking across the league right now. Teams can't make moves even if they want to right now.
No.
So if you're looking at a team like the Predators, that's probably a good thing. That's probably a blessing in disguise. Just ride it out. Let what happens. You're never going to be able to rebuild as long as you have UC Saros in net, because he's always going to win you games you're not supposed to win. So as long as you have UC Saros, you're going to be a semi-competitive team, and you're not going to fall far enough back and to be so bad that you can just completely rebuild.
Yeah. They kind of have been setting it out, though, for a few years. I mean, they get the people they get, it's not that much of an impact on the team, but I like that plan. I think that's a good plan. It's kind of foolproof. You can't get blamed for blowing the team up, and you can't get blamed for going all in on somebody and then losing in the first round. So
If you look at the Predators' schedule coming up, they've got 11 games before the trade deadline. 11 more games left. They will play the night before the deadline against the Florida Panthers.
Wow.
I'm going to ask you guys this. I'm going to ask each of you guys this. If the Predators have moved into the top 3 of the division by that point, which is still mathematically very possible, then it's going to be very hard to convince David Poile to not do something very bold. And this scares me. I'm not saying I'm on board with it, but he might get so emboldened that he might trade away a very coveted young asset, someone we care about, a young prospect, someone who means something for the long-term future. That's what scares me.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know what he's going to do, you know? I mean, it's just it's insane. It's insane. I don't even we've talked about it so many times. It's like there's no way of knowing.
Yep.
You just can't tell what's going to happen.
We got 11 games to watch. We'll see what the Predators do coming out of the break. And if they win, it could be a curse in its own right. Because it's going to make David Poile want to buy even more if this team surges up and gets into that top 3. We'll have to wait and see. All right, Here's my last one, and it's going to tie into our next segment, and it's how long are we going to be without Alex Carrier? He gets the 4 to 6 week. We talked about it in the last episode, me and Kyle did, regarding how he stepped up for Cody Glass, got in that fight with Logan Stanley, the big body.
That's a big boy.
You give him a lot of credit for sticking up for a teammate, but if he ends up being on the latter part of that injury designation of 6 weeks, that really hurts this team, because I'm telling you, Alex Carrier is one of those defensemen that gives you some offense. He moves the puck. He drives the puck. Mm-hmm. If he's out, you got to put in a Roland McEwen or someone like that. I'm thinking about bringing up Jordan Gross again at that point. If coming out of the break, if I think that Carrier is going to be out for a while, I'm really thinking hard about getting Jordan Gross back into the lineup, because he already showed he can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did do well. Yeah, I was a little shocked when I saw him fight that guy, because that dude is massive. Yeah. I mean, he's
got Kevin Gravel too. Kevin Gravel actually was the one who stepped in. I'm sorry. He's the one who actually stepped in and played in Carrier's absent right before the break. And, Kevin Gravel is another third pairing interchangeable defenseman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's a guy you can shift in there, and he's got some playing experience. I've liked a lot what I've seen from him when he has been in. I trust him to do the job.
That's it.
Per se. But I know that they've got to be thinking about, do we put Jordan Gross in there possibly out of the break?
Yeah,
so we have to keep an eye on that.
I think that'd be a good call up. Like you said, those guys do the job. They all can't be Roman Josi. All the defensemen can't be Roman Josi.
So that's my storylines. Is the offense clicking? Can Glass and Parson continue their ascension? Can Saros avoid a bad stretch of hockey? And can the team actually overcome that? How will the Preds approach the deadline? And how much time will Alexander Carrier miss? You guys got anything else that are really on the top of your mind here?
Matthias Ekholm, is he still going to be a Predator? That always comes up every year.
I don't think he's going anywhere. They're not trading him. I know.
It's just
if they were losing, if they weren't going through this recent stretch of winning, then I would definitely be thinking more about it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always been names that people have thrown out there. He's definitely the top one whenever trade deadline time comes around. He's probably like, again, I got to do this again.
He is on there every year, it seems like.
Yeah.
Poor fella.
I know,
Poor
right?
fella.
Poor fella making all that
There's
money.
a lot of teams out there who would love to have him, though. I promise you that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, let's tell you about one of our sponsors here in episode 170 of Catfish on Ice, and that is Raycon wireless earbuds. This time of year, everyone's talking about making big changes, which is all well and good. But most of the time, pretty unrealistic. I mean, we all have our New Year's resolutions, and we all sometimes we don't follow those closely all year. But with Raycon, it can be very simple. Raycon has very simple way. I've actually found that the smallest changes to your routine can make the biggest impact. In the same way, you don't have to break the bank to make a big deal purchase. Even the smallest things can be a part of a big change, even if it's something you use every day, like my Raycons. Raycon is premium audio at the perfect price point, so you can build great habits without breaking the bank. So, Raycon earbuds. For me, it's listening to podcasts. It's going on a walk. You throw them in, you're walking. They've got different features to change your audio, to change your listening habits. You know, in this day and age, we're all on the move here, and we're all thinking of ways to listen to our favorite music, listen to our favorite podcast. If you're listening to Catfish on Ice, you can use Raycons to listen to Catfish on Ice.
Yep, definitely do that.
Definitely. We promote that for sure. So whether you're looking for a pair of everyday earbuds, low latency gaming headphones, or a speaker with a battery that will last all night at your next party, Raycon's got you covered. I forgot about gaming. We got a lot of gamers out there. A lot of guys who get on there and play the Xbox. They play the PlayStation. You need some good headphones, some easy, comfortable headphones to wear. And yep, Raycon start at half the price of other premium audio brands. So you don't even have to choose between products. You can get one of each or a pair and a spare and still pay less than you would with some of the other guys. So yeah, get two pairs, because guess what? If you're like me, I go through pairs of headphones like my underwear almost. Like I'm really bad about it. So I lose them. I water damage, whatever. Raycons, you can get two pairs.
There you go.
Get you a backup pair. Even if you know you'll love your Raycons as much as I do, Raycon wants to make sure you feel great about your purchase. They offer buy now, pay later options. Every purchase has an easy and free return guarantee. And also, of course, there are 3 customizable sound profiles, earbud tap functions, noise isolation, awareness mode, custom gel tips for the perfect, most comfortable in-ear fit, crystal clear, call quality, water and sweat resistant, 8 everyday earbuds, or 11 everyday speakers, hours of playing time.
Wow.
So, I mean, what are you missing there? So use our promo code THBN to get a special offer on Raycon wireless earbuds and speakers. It is a great product, and we are happy to have them sponsoring the podcast.
Buy 2.
Let's rebirth a old segment that has died, but we're going to try to bring it back tonight. Battle for the Central, fellas, is no more. So sad. So sad.
It was like homework, though, sometimes.
They were fun, though.
They were fun. You had to do a little research, though, sometimes.
We did, yeah. So we're not bringing that segment back, but we are going to discuss here at the All-Star break, in this All-Star edition of Catfish on Ice, we're going to discuss how we think the Central Division is going to eventually end up. Do we think it is as crystal clear as the Dallas Stars are just going to like run away with it? They're currently 1 point up on the Winnipeg Jets. They're 8 points up on the Wild. So they've got a decent cushion, but this team, here's the thing about the Dallas Stars. They know how to make it to overtime, and then they lose in overtime. They got 10 overtime losses this year. So, Rich, what do you think, man? Do you think it's the Stars to lose, or are you thinking about another team in the Central that is, or maybe 2 teams that you think are going to really give the Stars a really run for their money? Do you think the Stars are going to win it?
I think it will probably wind up being the Stars. They're a really tough team. We've seen them play, but like you said, they do have the ability to give up, wins here and there, but they're just playing really well. So I think out of all the teams, it would probably be them. I don't really see – Winnipeg could make some noise, obviously, but I don't know. I think it's Dallas's to lose.
I'd agree with Rich. I don't really see anybody competing with Dallas at this point. They're pretty hard to mess with. Good goaltending, really good goal scorers. Robertson's the beast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Colorado's too far behind at this point to challenge, really, I think.
They're 9 points back right now, so they do that. That sounds like not a lot, but it's actually a pretty big gap there, like you said. So,
especially unless Dallas gets on a really bad streak, and they've been pretty consistent this year, so I don't really see that happening.
Yeah,
so
it's just ugly.
My thing about Dallas is that makes them like, so even when they lose, they get a point. They make it to overtime.
Yeah.
I'm sure from a Dallas Stars perspective right now, as a fan, you're probably frustrated that you keep seeing your team lose in overtime and you're leaving these points on the board. But at the same time, you got to feel a little bit uplifted that your team is at least getting a point, even when you lose. So the Stars are 28, 13, and 10. For a 0.647 point percentage. So, I mean, they're getting points even when they don't play their best hockey. So I'm not even focused on Winnipeg and Minnesota. They're the other two teams in the top three right now. I'm actually way more focused on Colorado. Does Colorado have enough in the tank to make the push to eventually pass Dallas? That's kind of what I'm looking at this point. In terms of, can anyone give Dallas a run for their money? It's going to be Colorado, in my opinion.
Yeah. Once they have all their firepower back.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the season series between Dallas and Colorado at this point, they've already played twice, and Colorado won both games. And they've still got to play 2 more times. They play on March the 4th. They play on April 1st. So, head-to-head, I don't know. 7-game series, Western Conference Finals possibly. I'm still putting my money on Colorado.
All right.
If everybody's healthy, that's a good matchup right there.
They'll make a push for sure. There's only one team with more overtime win or losses in the whole NHL, and it's San Jose.
Ooh,
they have 11.
That's not good company. That's not good company to be
11 overtime.
I didn't expect that team to be listed.
Dallas has 10.
And 2 completely different teams in different spectrums.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's a good stat there, Rich. So, you're looking at it here. So, is it full gold that the Preds are 3 points behind here, behind the Avs? They're 4 points behind the Wild. I mean, are they just stuck in that muck that they're always stuck in? We got the Blues. The Blues are fading fast. I mean, they are tanking.
Yeah, they fell off a cliff.
They are a nosedive, and I know they steamrolled the Preds not that long ago. But when you look at the overall standings, the Blues are completely tanking right now. So, are the Preds pretty much a 5th place team, and that's their best case scenario? Do you think that's their ceiling? They don't get any higher than 5th?
I don't know. They could climb up. They've got 3 games in hand on Dallas, so they could climb up some, but I don't see them. Yeah, well, it's gonna be tight.
Well, first of all, no one's predicting them to win the division, so we don't have to.
No, I'm just saying, they do have some games to.
What idiot said that at the beginning of the season?
I think someone on this podcast did.
Yeah. They've let us down, boys.
You're not an idiot, though. That doesn't make you an idiot. All right. So, other divisions here that we are – let's look at the other 3 divisions really quick. Let's touch on them. I kind of put out my top points I'm looking at from each division. So, my Central Division takeaway was, can Avs make up for lost time to catch Dallas, Winnipeg? All right, we already kind of covered that. Pacific Division, you got 5 teams within 6 points in the Pacific Division right now. 5 teams within 6 points,
and the Kraken sitting at the top.
I'm rolling with the crackheads, man. Come on,
that division is a complete crapshoot at this point.
It is. Vegas just got dealt a bad hand today too. So
I'm riding with my preseason pick, fellas. I can't back down now. I got to stick with the Kings.
That's a good pick, though.
But the Kings
that's
got
not bad.
the Kings got 4 games, and they've played 4 more games than Seattle, and they're tied with the same amount of points.
Yeah.
So that's not good. If you're looking at it, the Kraken are in first place, and they've played the fewest games in the division, and they're in first place. So and they got a plus 26 goal differential, whereas the Kings are a minus 10. That's a pretty quirky stat there. If you
very
really look
quirky,
at it,
for sure.
Ooh.
But I got to ride with it. So you got the Kraken at 63, the Kings at 63, the Golden Knights at 62, the Oilers at 60. They're lurking, and the Flames, they're at 57. So I mean, you got 5 really quality teams that you can all make an argument for coming out on top. So the Pacific Division race is going to be out of all 4 divisions. That's going to be the division that's going to have like a photo finish.
Yep. Then if you switch to the other side of the country.
Yeah. Hey, Rich, how about you tell us about the Atlantic Division and your darlings of the NHL?
Yeah, they're 11 points ahead of Toronto right now. And they beat Toronto tonight.
And they went through a 3-game losing streak, so they showed that they were at least somewhat human.
A little bit human, but still they made up for it today.
And they're going to be buyers at the trade deadline, Rich. To round out this episode, we got Kyle Pereira joining us, who's the scout for Last Word on Hockey. We got into some trade deadline talk. We talked about some teams that we think are going to be really active buyers at the deadline, and he brought up the Boston Bruins as a team who he thinks is going to be very active to get even better, as scary as that is, even better at the deadline. And I don't know, we threw around a player named Patrick Kane being linked to the Bruins.
Oh gosh, I don't know about that. I think that would just upset the apple cart, in my opinion.
We'll see how it goes.
It could be good.
But yeah, I think the Atlantic Division is pretty much wrapped up for the Boston Bruins, not just because they have such a big lead in the standings, but because they're actually that good.
They are good.
They're actually that good. You don't look at the Bruins and think, oh, this team's a fraud. You look at them and you think, oh yeah, this team is pretty good. Now, did anyone think they were going to be historically great, on pace of having the best point total in NHL history? Well, no one had predicted that. But
I was wrong. They're actually up 13 points on Toronto. I didn't refresh, so
there you go. It's okay. And then the Metropolitan Division. I mean, you gotta think the New Jersey Devils are like the darlings of the whole league this year in terms of surprise teams. They got Jack Hughes, who, I mean, when I was watching the Preds play the Devils the other night.
Oh, I know that dude.
That dude is special. I mean, he can
do whatever he wants.
He creates chaos in a good way. Good way.
So he reminds me, and I don't know if this is just my weird thinking or something, but whenever he's out, especially in like late game or on like a breakaway or something, he puts fear in me like Patrick Kane did when he was younger.
Oh, yeah,
I like that comparison. That comparison.
Yeah, it's absolutely 100% true.
He's a great skater. I mean, he's very crafty. I like the word crafty when describing Jack Hughes. But the Devils, man, I mean, their goaltending is the one thing that can hurt them. They don't have a ton of trustworthy goaltending right now, but they've got Dougie Hamilton, who is a top 5 in points right now among defensemen. People forget about him. He's on my fantasy team, so let's go Dougie. But yeah,
do the Dougie.
The Devils are 8 points behind Carolina in second place. It's pretty spread out. So your fourth place team is the Capitals. They are 16 points behind first place. So drastically different than the Pacific Division.
Yeah.
Where you've got 5 teams within 6 points. But when you're looking at the Metro Division, can the Devils keep up their early season pace? Can they show that they're legit and they're not frauds? They've got a little bit to prove here still. There's still a lot of teams left. They could easily fade here in the stretch. They are only, if you're looking at the wild card race in the Eastern Conference, as great of a story as the Devils have been, they are only 8 points from being in the wild card. So it's not like they're so far ahead that this can't go south quick for them. I think they're good enough to overcome that. They're going to stick around. They're going to make the playoffs and be a really fun story to watch in the playoffs. But I'm just saying, let's focus on that here. And also, when you look at the Metro Division, you see the Rangers. You see the Rangers out there. I mean,
are you saving the best for last?
you talking about the mighty Islanders,
the mighty Carolina Hurricanes.
Well, they're in first place.
I know, man. They're on a
Stanley Cup pick,
7-game win streak right now.
They're my Stanley Cup pick. So
I watched them play the Bruins the other night. Dude, they are so fast.
If I get a Canes Bruins Eastern Conference Finals, I will not be upset over it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a great series, I think.
It would be. And you got two teams that have good goaltenders. They have electric, high-powered offenses. They have quality defense as well. They check all the boxes. Both teams they're very balanced. So that would be a outstanding 7-game series.
Mm-hmm. But we'll see. The Rangers.
The Rangers, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they could maybe pass the Devils eventually in the division, but I don't know. I expected more out of them this year. Maybe they still have time to right the ship a little bit, but they've been a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they were my pick for the Cup at the beginning of the year.
And they could still do it. I mean, I think they're still a playoff team.
I think they're still a playoff team, but I don't think they have the firepower like they did last year to.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they do. I don't know.
All right, so
they just seem a little weak.
Yes.
So that's how we see the division races going right now at the All-Star break. Let us know at Catfish Ice or follow us on Twitter or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Comment right now if you're watching live on Twitter or YouTube, and let us know what you think about the 4 division races right now. We got a couple more things to get into. We're presented by DraftKings and Raycon earbuds. We've got Kyle Pereira coming up later on in the episode if you're listening on the audio version the next day. Great interview with him. We talked trade deadline. We talked about Connor Bedard, hype train for the draft. Kyle also goes into some players that he thinks the Predators will be in line to draft. Even if the Predators do pick mid-first round, he tells me that this is a really loaded and deep draft class. So for a lot of the fans out there who want the Predators, they're worried about their draft pick and they think that they want them to lose so they can get a higher draft pick. According to Kyle Pereira, this draft class looks pretty good. Even if you're picking mid-first round, you're going to have a chance to pick a really good player. He listed some really good ones. We talked about that. That's going to be at the end of this episode. Let's talk about DraftKings real quick. Right now, we are at the Super Bowl, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Can you believe it?
It's that time of year.
So, yeah.
Bowl.
We are at the Super Bowl, and it's one of those times where DraftKings is right there for you with our promo code THPN to get exclusive offers on the big game. So right now, guys, you need to be looking into DraftKings. You need to be looking into this great offer with bigger NFL payouts, same game parlays at DraftKings Sportsbook, and promo code THPN. Guys, let's move on here with the Alex Carrier injury concerns. How worried are you guys about this?
Very to a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said earlier, 4 to 6, when they say 4 to 6 weeks, that's usually pretty bad. And, they really need him in this stretch coming up right now, and it's not going to be there. So it's very concerning for sure.
He's a play driver. I mean, he moves the puck. He's transition type of player, and we're talking about a team that has a hard time getting the puck out of the zone. It has a hard time moving the puck at times. Rich, you talked about earlier about how this team has these offensive lapses where they just fall asleep at the wheel and nothing's happening. Alex Carrier is one of those players that is very good at transitioning the puck down the ice and making the right offensive moves, the passing. Without him in the lineup, your offense, which is already very unreliable, takes an even bigger hit.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely unreliable. That's a good word.
And I'm sure we will definitely get more news on it, I'm sure, as we get closer to the Preds returning to the ice against the Golden Knights on February 7th. But as of right now, it's very unclear just how long we're going to be without him. You get that 4 to 6 week designation. So, I mean, at the very least, they're definitely going to be without him for, you're looking when they get back on February 7th, they're going to at least be without him for 3 games.
Yeah.
And that's the best case scenario because, they're getting this long break here, but when they come back and play Vegas, they get another 3 days off after that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about a really long stretch here where they're only going to play 1 game. So perhaps in the grand scheme of things, Alex Carrier won't miss that many games. That's my hope anyway.
Yeah. 4 weeks would be around when they play Boston.
Oh, God, I'm not looking forward to that game.
Arizona or Boston.
Yeah. So if he misses, he might miss 3 games, best case scenario. But like we said, he could miss more like another 3 or 4 games after that. We really don't know. But the impact of the lineup without him is pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's like the second pairings Roman Josi.
He really is, and he just lets Matthias play so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I think that is something that's very underrated about him. It's just how much better he has made Matthias Ekholm look.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yep.
Let's move on to our NHL quick hitters here, guys, to wrap up this segment of episode 170 before we get on to Kyle Pereira, who is a scout for Last Word on Hockey, also covers Rich's second favorite team, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
With their ugly retro jerseys.
Hey, that made me laugh. Your tweet about that made me laugh.
Oh, my Lord. That was the worst thing I've ever seen. I had never seen him before until I watched that game. I was like, what is happening? Oh, ugh.
It looks like a bunch of people just took together a bunch of materials and just like built a jersey.
Yeah. They're like, hey, I got like 4 or 5 different kinds of material. I'm going to make a jersey out of something.
All right.
Anyway.
We won't call you biased at all, though.
I know, right?
But
I do like
agree.
Victor Hedman. I like Victor Hedman.
Right,
Does that count for anything?
I'm not trying to change you.
I like Victor Hedman.
Let's get into our NHL quick hitters. Bo Horvat is the first major trade of this cycle this year, really. There's been some other low-key trades, but this is the big one. Bo Horvat gets traded to the New York Islanders. The Canucks give up 2 pretty high-end prospects, Andy Beauvillier and Atu Ratu. And the Canucks also take 25% of Horvat's cap hit. So who won this trade, guys?
The Canucks.
Seems like it, for sure.
I'm a big Atu Ratu fan.
Yeah.
So I really wanted the Preds to draft him whenever he was drafted. So
he was all over Preds mock drafts at the time.
Yeah, I'm still kind of jealous on that one, but
I think it's good for the Canucks here because the Canucks realize they are who they are. They realize that they're not going anywhere right now, and they have committed to the fact that they've got some high-end assets that they need to trade, and they found themselves a buyer. Although I will say the New York Islanders are a buyer that a lot of people didn't expect. Because I've kind of called the Islanders the Preds of the East because they play very similar. They're a very defensive-minded team. They rely on goaltending. They're so far back in the standings right now to the point where is a Bo Horvat really worth sending away 2 very coveted prospects like they did, and you take on 25% of his cap hit.
I'm thinking they're planning for like next year. Is the only thing that makes any sense to me.
Yeah.
But he's a rental. Most people are saying Bo Horvat's a rental. I mean, the dude, is he really going to stick around with the Islanders past this year? Maybe there's some stuff going on behind closed doors where the Islanders have talked to him and they feel confident that he does want to re-sign there. That's possible. We don't know that, but there's nothing that's been announced that says he's going to sign long-term there. But as a rental, that's a really puzzling trade for the Islanders.
Especially where they're sitting in the standings at the moment.
And a lot of people are saying that Bo Horvat is way outperforming his actual benchmark. I mean, the dude's got an over 20% shooting percentage right now. He's basically on the same level of what we saw Matt Duchene and Philip Forsberg last year in terms of shooting the puck and scoring. Like that's kind of where Bo Horvat's. So he struck while the iron was hot. So give all the credit to Horvat for getting the market up on him or whatever.
Yeah,
but from the Islanders' perspective, I don't think he moves the needle that much for them.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Unless
I think they have a lot more troubles than what one Bo Horvat's going to solve.
Yeah.
And you look at the Canucks, they're not done here. You still got Brock Besser out there as well, who they're also trying to move. So, I think the Canucks realize the writing is on the wall. This has been a pretty disastrous season for them. They were supposed to be a lot better than they are, and they're kind of committing to the fact that, you know what, it's time to move these people and think long-term here. So we'll have to wait and see how that works out. I think Brock Besser is going to get traded as well, and we'll have to see where he ends up. All right. NHL ratings dropped 22%.
I couldn't even believe that when I read it.
Average viewers. That's according to a report.
Shocking number is what I'm getting at. It was like huge. Yeah, it was weird. Go ahead.
That's according to a report from Mark J. Burns, who is he writes about sports and sports business for the Morning Consultant. He reports that NHL US TV national viewership is down 22%. NHL regular season games to date have averaged 373,000 viewers on ESPN TNT, second season of the league's 7-year pact with Disney and Turner. Last year, the NHL averaged 478,000 viewers at this point last season. He does mention that a lot of this has to do with time slots, and it's a little skewed, but at the same time, not encouraging numbers. And I did kind of a comparison to some other leagues, major leagues. So the NFL, who we all know the NFL rules. No one even comes close to touching the NFL. Mind you, Tom Brady has all the headlines because he retired today again. But did you guys hear that there's speculation that his little video he filmed of himself saying he retired was basically like filmed like a long time ago, and it was like pre-recorded?
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Did you guys see the video of him on the beach?
No, I haven't watched it yet. It's been a really busy day.
So I didn't watch it.
So he filmed himself announcing his retirement, and he lives in Tampa, so I'm like right across the bridge. And I watched it this morning, and I'm thinking, okay, if he just filmed this, the weather is not matching. Because whatever the weather is like in Tampa, it's usually very similar to St. Pete. It's not always exactly the same, but it's usually pretty close. And I remember just watching it thinking, it's not that – well, the wind's like really howling in his video, and it's kind of like overcast and cloudy. And when I'm watching it, I'm thinking, okay, it's nothing like that here right now. So if he just filmed this or filmed it even a couple hours ago, something's not adding up. So there's like speculation out there that it was filmed like a while ago. And he wanted to release it Super Bowl week. He wanted to release it to be the center of attention.
Of course.
Well, he's always wanted to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not a Brady fan.
That. You Sherlocked that hard.
I did. I'm awesome.
Something's not. You got your pipe out. And you're like, something's not right with this video.
The cloud formation and the wind pressure does not match.
Elementary, my dear Perkins.
Where I'm at, yeah. I went full on. That's how I spent most of my day today, guys, was dissecting.
Analyzing the Tom Brady.
I didn't get any work done today. I was just analyzing that video. But
that's funny.
Looking at ratings from other leagues compared to the NHL. NFL averaged between 15 and 19 million viewers in 2022. That's compared to 330-something thousand viewers for the NHL. So, that's like a crazy gap. The NBA, 1.6 million viewers.
That's it?
For last season.
Wow.
No, NBA's ratings have gone down compared to.
I knew that. I knew they'd gone down some, but that's not
we're just
much.
comparing this to the NHL numbers.
Anyway.
Most college football games from the Power 5 conferences, so like the major conference teams, averaged at least over 1 million. A lot of the big teams like Ohio State, Alabama, they were up over like 5 million, 6 million.
Wow.
MLB, so MLB is on Fox a lot, over 2 million viewers. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, 1.5 million viewers. So the point of the matter is the NHL is way behind when it comes to your major sports. Kyle, I know you're chomping at the bit.
He is.
You have to have 3 or 4 different services to be able to watch every game of your preferred team. You're blacked out from half the games if you try to watch it on a legal means. It's like they're purposely making it more difficult to watch the game. You've got all these ticky-tack regional networks that you have to buy another app for just to be able to watch the game and pay $20-some a month just to watch Preds games, and it's not even all the games.
Yep.
That
might be coming to an end.
I saw that they were talking bankruptcy from Sinclair.
Bally's might be going out of business or going bankrupt. So that'll change the landscape.
The Bally Sports app is a disaster.
It is. Yeah. It is for sure. I think it sucks, and you always see a lot of people complaining that the games are blacked out or whatever. I have ESPN, and I have the ability to watch the Bally's South.
I have the ESPN Plus app, so I can watch Preds out of market. I think the issue is for most people is if you're in market is the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're in market, if you're in the Preds market and you want to cut the cord, it is a pain in the ass to watch Preds games right now.
Absolutely, it is. Mm-hmm. So you have that aspect of it, and then you have the aspect of like I can't even watch. It's hard to watch a TNT game that's on TNT because of the announcers and then the people during intermission. I can't stand to listen to those guys talk. They just annoy me. And then the ESPN people that call the games, they're not much better. I mean, it's
unless you get Bucci, and Bucci is amazing.
Yeah, he is. But
Bucci's been covering the game for so long. He's one of the original ESPN NHL guys. Him and Steve Levy. Steve Levy was badass back in his day. I mean, unless you're going with some NHL Network guys, Kevin Weeks is amazing.
Oh, Weeks, he's awesome.
Yeah, he is.
There's some good guys out there.
You get some of these other guys that held over from the last administration, and it's like
they don't even know the players' names.
Yeah, if you're not an original,
or they mispronounce or whatever.
Yeah, if you're not an original 6 team, you suck, and if you're not the Chicago Blackhawks, you suck, and it's just like I don't know. It's just it needs to be a little more not.
I think there's a multitude of problems facing the NHL to lead to this ratings dip I think we can throw out a bunch of reasons. One reason that I think is they're tied together, but it's this hard salary cap that makes it really hard for teams to break away. And it's like it's that delicate balance. You want your league to be competitive. You want your league to have parity. I get that. You don't want one or two or three teams dominating the league every year,
like what's happening this year,
like what happens in the NBA or whatever. The NBA has been really bad about it for a while, where like no one wanted to watch because we knew the same two teams were going to make it every year. But at the same time, to push back on that, the NHL has kind of become a little bit of a league where the regular season doesn't get focused on as much by casual fans because they're more important. They're like, what? I'll be interested to see how the ratings go in the playoffs, because when the playoffs come, there's not as much competition. The NHL won't be going up against NFL games or whatnot. And so I will be interested to see how the Stanley Cup playoffs do in terms of TV ratings, which ties me to my next point that I think really hurts the league, and that is the playoff format. I think the playoff format is awful. This whole top three in the division, and then you get these two wild cards and whatnot. I just think it should be 1 through 8. You give the two division winners the top 2 seeds. So you reward winning your division. So you get 1 and 2. But then you do 6 through 8, or you do 3 through 8 the rest of the way, regardless of division. Reward the best teams, and you're in. You're in. This whole 2 wild card system, but if you finish in the top 3, no matter, because I just don't like it. I don't like it. I think it allows for front running. It allows for overloaded divisions, and it makes the regular season seem somewhat irrelevant. Because if you look at, we just talked about it, if you look at 3 of the 4 divisions, they already seem pretty settled at this point. I mean, there's some teams you could pass here and there, but it's already been spread out. The Pacific Division is the only division where you've got a lot of competition between a bunch of teams. So I think you got to go 1 through 8, and in each conference, don't make this overcomplicated here. Make it a 1 through 8 format.
Yeah. And it's just weird because it's like, out of all the leagues, I think the NHL has the more likable of the players, and it seems like they don't like push that more. I don't know, like all the players, they're really likable, I guess. Whereas in the other sports, some of them aren't and like it's like you need to push that more and just kind of market a little better. I don't know. It's just
the league does a horrible job at marketing its superstars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the league's best player is Connor McDavid, and the dude is like a walking robot.
He is a
robot. I was going to say, he doesn't have a personality.
He does a lot. Now, I will say, he does a lot of really good things for the community, so I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm not saying he's a bad dude. He's just not very marketable. I mean, they don't really market their superstars very well. And maybe that's just a product of being a hockey player. Maybe hockey players don't want to be the outlandish. And I can respect that, honestly. I can. Yeah. It's part of like the hockey culture to not be some outlandish, like whatever. But a lot of your really like outlandish players in the league are actually not that. I mean, I'm not saying they're not talented. They're obviously talented, or otherwise they wouldn't be playing NHL hockey. But I'm saying like a lot of your really like outlandish players in the NHL are just goons. Like Ryan Reeves, Ryan Reeves sticks out. Like, you got those guys who really get under the skin and they'll be agitators. But, Ovechkin kind of stands out. Ovechkin's always been very marketable. He's kind of the outlier there. But most of your really great NHL players right now, unless you're a diehard fan, most of your casual fans who just watch occasionally, they couldn't even name you their top 10 most best players in the league right now. And that's a problem. That's a problem when only your diehard fans can name those players.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of years ago, Austin Matthews was at a MMA fight with Justin Bieber, and ESPN was like, "Oh, look, it's Justin Bieber." And it was like,
They didn't even bring Boston.
Oh, and he just happens to be with like one of the top 3 best players in the NHL. What do you know? Yeah. It's kind of weird. Yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, I don't know.
I will say that in that same report, the NHL is apparently setting records in terms of social media engagement. So I guess in some ways, they might be growing on social media. I know they've been growing reportedly among the really young demographic. So we'll see how it goes.
Who knows?
All right, let's close out episode 170 really quick, guys, with a really fun quick little segment here to round out this episode and get to our interview with Kyle Pereira of Last Word on Hockey. Coolest NHL players, not the best, not the most talented, just the coolest. Jackie Redmond, who does work for NHL Network. She is one of the good ones. She's amazing. Love her content. She put out a really good question on Twitter the other day asking just who is the coolest player, the most savvy, just the most. And I said it's easy, but I'm also biased, but Roman Josi. Even if I wasn't a fan of the Predators, I would probably have to say Roman Josi. Who are some other cool players? I think Pasternak's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's one of the ones I was going to say. He always dresses not funny, but like he's dressed really well all the games. Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. Some people would say Patrick Laine, but I don't know. He looks like he's in some kind of 80s not disco, but what is it? Electronic cover band or something. I don't know.
Can I pick somebody recently retired?
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, yeah.
Henrik Lundqvist.
Oh yeah.
He was bad. He looked like a old Egyptian or not Egyptian. He looked like an old like mythical king. Like with slick back hair.
Yeah. I mean, you can't get much cooler than that. That's he's smooth. The George Strait of hockey.
There you go. That's a good one. Yeah. That is a good one. I think that's good. For the Predators, it's definitely got to be Roman Josi.
I don't know, Phil.
Phil is cool.
Phil's cool because he's got the mustache. He's a gamer. Yeah. I mean, he's a big gamer.
On the moped.
He's on the moped.
The mini bike, rather.
Yeah. He lives in an apartment that you can see Bridgestone from the window. I mean, just living the life, that guy, for sure.
I'm going to throw another one out there. I'm going to throw 2 out there. I actually do think that Alex Ovechkin's one of the coolest players out there. He's not just talented, but he's cool. He's got the gray look to him now, which I think he rocks it very, very well. Like, I mean, he's rolling around with like this like metallic steel, like gray hair, but he still makes it work. He still looks so freaking cool. Yeah. So I got to throw him in there.
That's a good one.
For sure. I got to throw another one in there. And even though I still question his decision to ever go to Columbus, but Johnny Gaudreau, I always thought Johnny G was such a cool player. Like the way he skates, he's like the little guy, but he can score these really crazy goals. He's fast. He's electric. He's fun. He's kind of fallen by the wayside going to Columbus. I'm not saying he won't resurface eventually, but everyone's kind of forgotten about Johnny G because he plays for one of the worst teams in the league now. And even at the time, we were like, he picked where? He picked where to go? Yeah. But I still think he's cool. I still think Johnny G is up there. Johnny Hockey. Johnny Hockey is one of my coolest players in the league.
Johnny Hockey. There you go. That's a good one.
All right. Let's move on. We're getting to Kyle Pereira of Last Word on Hockey. We're going to get into a bunch of stuff, more stuff. We're going to touch on some stuff we already talked about in this episode. Everyone, we're done with the live portion here right now. If you're watching on YouTube, go download the podcast the next day. Until then, stay tuned for our interview with Kyle Pereira of Last Word on Hockey. Thanks for watching the live broadcast. This is episode 170 of Catfish on Ice, presented by Raycon, Earbuds, and DraftKings, promo codes THPN. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody.